Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining another session of Hablemos. And today I have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful friend of the family, the Hispanic Star family, every family in the US. He is, I'm going to warn you, there's a lot of energy coming at you fast and furious. So be ready for this. But it's always an honor and a pleasure to have a conversation with him. I feel energized, and trust me, people, I've only talked to him for a few minutes. Today, I have Chris Ortega. He is the CEO of Fresh FP&A, and he's here to share with us his story of inclusion, of leadership, of purpose. So, Chris, how are you today?
Thank you so much for having me. So happy to be a part of this, and I'm doing great. Looking forward to this conversation.
Oh, trust me, I am as well. And I'm truly excited to have you here. I know we've shared some experiences together, and well, you're a fabulous speaker, and you are full of energy. And I love that you're bringing that energy into our conversation here at Hablemos. So to get us started, you are the star of the show. So tell us more about you and your story, and where you come from, where you're heading, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana. So shout out to all my Hoosier fans that are looking at it right now. Born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana. I came from a single parent background. So for me, it was me, my mom, and my sister. Primarily, my mom is African American and Caucasian. My father is Latino and Italian. So that's how I get the Chris Ortega aspect of it. I got the curly hair and the big forehead. I got everything around that. And for me, like, growing up in, really in the low income, my family, me and my sister were kind of the first generation college students to actually go to college. I was the first in my family to actually get an MBA. So really coming from a background to where, like education and advancement and everything around that, particularly in like finance as well, that has never been something inside of my family. And for me, it's always been like a badge of honor to carry that around in all the different ventures, opportunities that I've had, advancement that I've had, reaching the highest levels in organizations. Because to me, I think like that pioneer aspect of it has been like really, really important to me. Like, diversity, equity, justice, I call it a JEDI, justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion is so important, particularly in the accounting, finance, FP&A, CFO space. I know as I've advanced through my career, I started off in public accounting. I went into high growth entrepreneurial startup technology companies. I started my own business. And one thing that I've just kind of seen as I've continued to move up is that the higher you get up in organizations, in industries, the less representation that we see in terms of the minority and particularly the Latino community. So for me, it's been really, 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 really like monumental for me to carry on that legacy. And just another fact about myself that I think is really important for the viewers to know is, another motivation of mine is I lost my father when I was 5 years old. So I kind of grew up, just me, my mom, and my sister. And, I had aunts, I had uncles, I had, half brothers, I had nephews and things like that. But like for me, it's a badge of honor every day to continue to carry on my father's legacy, who, rest in peace, was Eusebio Ortega. And for me, like that is something I got him in my wall. Like if I was at my office, you'll see it's a picture of me and my father that I had painted for me to look at. So that's just a little bit about myself. I'm passionate about the accounting, finance, FP&A, CFO space, and yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Wow, Chris. I mean, it's a beautiful story. I love what you said about your dad and how you carry and honor his name and your whole family, right? And
Mhm.
curious to know, it is a big responsibility as well to be the first one in the family to do something.
Mhm.
And I believe it takes a lot of courage to just try to do something that you're not used to, that you haven't seen. So what encouraged you to do that? What encouraged you to say, hey, you know what, I will be the first one to go to college, I will be the first one to get an MBA, I will jump into entrepreneurship? Like what inspired you?
I think to me, it's about legacy, right? And when I look and see, like growing up for me, I was always kind of like that lone wolf, right? Like I was always out there. And I knew at an early age that my motivation came from just being a pioneer in what I was doing. My mom told me something. I think this is really valuable. Like growing up, when I was 8 years old, my mom sat me down and she says, Chris, do you know you have the best initials that you can ever have in business? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, your initials are the highest level you can reach in business. Your initials are CEO. Like that's the highest you can get. And I remember my mom telling me that. And I was like, Mom, that means I'm a fireman? She was like, exactly. You're the fireman in business. And like when she told that to me, I was like, instantly at that age, I was like, man, I'm special. Right. And for me, like all throughout, like one of the key things that I knew, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur and always knew I wanted to be in finance, and particularly always knew I wanted to manage money, was growing up. I grew up from a very, my mom worked 3 or 4 jobs. We didn't have a lot. Like there was no silver spoon. Like it was, it was cereal most nights for dinner that we ate up. And I remember like all the side hustles that I had at a young age. I remember during Halloween time, like I would go out all day to go trick or treat with my friends. And then we would collect all of our trick or treat candy. We would go to Myers and get like plastic bags. We would bag them all up and sell them out of our lockers so we can get sneakers. I remember shoveling snow in my low income community that I was a part of for like $10 to shovel people's snow. I always had this innovation. And for me, like looking at my family, I always seen like what not to do, right? Which I think was so important in my life. Like I had aunts, I had uncles that were, not on the right path in life. I had half brothers that were like not doing the right things. They were in jail, doing things and doing all this extra stuff. So I had the game plan of like, I definitely don't want to be in this lane. I want to go over here. So for me, I think like, my mom instilled that discipline in me. My mom taught me my first budget. I remember she used to take receipts and she used to go through and we'd be like, she scope out here how much is food. And hey, she called me Bunny. That was her nickname. She's like, Bunny, I only got, $100 for your school clothes. And I remember taking that $100 and I go to the store, I map out everything. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get these clothes. I'm going to get this. I know after sales tax, everything included, it's going to be this dollar amount. And it's like $99.96, and it's like right to the T. So I think for me, I slowly realized that I really loved that aspect of creating. I really love that aspect of pioneering. And more importantly, I really love that aspect of making an impact in my community, in my family, with my friends. I really wanted to stand out and wanted to be different. So I think those were the primary motivators for me that started at a very young age.
Wow, that's amazing. And I love that you combine, legacy with impact. I mean, it's so needed. And you are representing so many people out there from different backgrounds and different areas in the US that are just probably thinking that they want an opportunity. They don't know how to make it happen. And you are the prime example of when you want to make something possible, you just have to go take action and get it done, right? You can't wait for something else to drive that in you. So thank you for sharing your experience and your story, because it is powerful, Chris. I'm hoping that that everything that you just share right now, it's going to impact so many lives, and I'm appreciative of that. And thank you for sharing that story as well of the struggles. So do you think that those struggles are the ones that make you stronger, or do you go back to those times when you think that things are tough or not possible?
Man, like one key, like the struggle is like the biggest gift. Here's the thing. Like I wake up every day, I look to fail, right? That's counterintuitive. You're like, probably
what?
People, you're like, what? Like, why do you look up to fail? Because to me, like I've learned there's only really 2 options in life, right? Follow me here. Everybody follow me, right? Like if you seek failure, right, you're either going to win or you're going to learn. You only lose if you don't learn. So like, I look for failure because failure is where the opportunity to expand your comfort zone, right? Like, to give you a great example, I remember when I was going in college earlier on, and I was in the Kelley School of Business, one of the top business schools in accounting and finance in the entire, I think it was like number 3 at public universities in accounting and finance. And I remember going through these classes and I was failing at it. And I remember questioning myself, Am I cut out for this? Can I do this? Was everybody right? Was my high school counselor right? Were all these naysayers and all these people right that I'm not cut out for this? And I remember at that moment, and I said, Chris, this is going to be another dot that you're going to connect and look back on that's going to be able to make an impact. So a lot of times, like when you come through adversity, when you come through challenge, like that's what makes you better. Failure is the biggest learning opportunity that you have, right? And just another shared story, like outside of like business, like I got into boxing, right? I got into boxing, and I'm kind of one of those people, if you can't tell already, like if I find something that I love, like I'm going hard, like I'm going all in, like I'm putting everything into it. And when I got into amateur boxing and I got with my coach, her name was Susana Rodriguez Griffin, another Latino business owner that owns her own gym here in Indianapolis, Indiana, entrepreneur herself, and one of my boxing coach, and not even just a boxing coach, a life coach. She taught me so much. I realized there that I remember I lost my first amateur fight. Like I lost a fight, and like I was so down on myself, and I could have got better. And my coach came across. She says, Chris, you didn't lose because we're studying the tape and you learn so much. Take those learnings and go improve in the next match that you have. So to me, like, tap into your struggle, tap into that challenge, tap into that adversity, because that's the fuel that you need the most to get through any situation that you got through. And I remember Steve Jobs, and I'll leave off with this. Steve Jobs said something: you can only connect the dots looking back. You can never connect the dots looking forward. But to me, like, I've taken that and said all those dots that I had, the adversity, the challenge, the failure, the difficulty, all those examples, the heartbreak, all of those things, tap into that, because that's your greatest source of strength to continue to propel you going forward in all different kind of situations and things you're going to have. So that, to me, man, I tap into my passion, I tap into my purpose, and I tap into, continue to make an impact in the community that I serve and support.
That's beautiful. And what is your purpose? I mean, yeah. I can see you. I get your energy. I get your passion about things. So, and community and the impact and your legacy. I can imagine, but what is your purpose, Chris?
100%. The purpose and the why that I'm here is to use my skills, passions, and talents to help others realize and achieve greatness. That is everything. Like I remember the moment that I figured that out, right? I was watching a YouTube video, and this is probably about 10, 12 years ago. And I was looking at a YouTube video. I think it was Les Brown. It was Les Brown. And he was talking about like finding your why, finding your purpose. And he gave a great analogy. He's like, the wealthiest place in the world is the graveyard, because that's where dreams, opportunities, passions, purpose, skills, talents, everything, they went and died because they didn't live their purpose. And I remember going through a really reflective period during that moment. I said, man, what is me? Like, what is my purpose? What's my North Star? And I love taking my skills, passions, talents, and experiences that I've had and use those to help others realize and achieve greatness. I think that's what got me on the road of entrepreneurship. Like, it was in the road to get where you're going, it's never a straight line. Like, it's never like you go from A, B, C, and D. Like, my road to get to be the CEO of Fresh FP&A and start my own consulting firm that's focused on finance transformation and scalable solutions for businesses, it's been a zigzag, right? But the North Star throughout that entire journey is like, as long as I'm chasing purpose over praise, as long as I'm chasing passion over a paycheck, and as long as I'm chasing, those things in my why, like that is the most important thing, right? And I think too many people get bogged down of like, hey, like I haven't hit this title, I haven't made this amount of money, I haven't done this. Like some of the most enjoyable and successful times that I look back on is I've been 100% laser focused on focusing on my passion and my purpose and not chasing those other things. So to me, when you do that too, like another thing I've understood, and I was on a conversation yesterday talking about this, right? When you chase your passion, when you chase your purpose and you put people on that mission, title, success, money, status, all of those other things that really don't matter so much, they follow you along the way. So for me, it's so important for everybody listening. Find that North Star, find that purpose, find that passion, and relentlessly go after it every single day.
And it's one of your passions other than impacting people's lives. And I know that you do it through not only offering your services and being that entrepreneur that you are, and being that speaker, going to conference and just sharing your experience. But now, as an entrepreneur, I know it's not an easy road. I know it's very challenging. And I was sharing with Chris previously that to me, it's one of the scariest things that you can do to become an entrepreneur. So how and why? When did you decide to become that entrepreneur? What was that moment in life? What encouraged you? And share with us, do you ever fear? Do you ever, and I know that you embrace failure, and that's a great analogy. We should all do that, but it's not easy. So how do you go about that when you rely on being that entrepreneur?
Yeah, for me, like one of the catalysts in my career is like, I've had the opportunity throughout my career to work with a lot of different high growth entrepreneurs, basically like from seed to startup to scale up to enterprise in accounting, finance, FP&A, and CFO and financial leadership. And I got to a point where I was like, you know what? Like I've done this. I've done it successful. Right. And I'm ready to kind of take that leap of faith. Right. And the thing about entrepreneurship and the thing about going out off on your own, let me just be clear with everybody. It's not going to be like you have 100% everything laid out. Right. Like,
right.
It's never like nobody jumps into entrepreneurship where it's like, I got my funding, I got my business, I got everything laid out. It's all easy. Like, and the thing about it is like the road of entrepreneurship is not a sprint. It is a journey. Right? And it's a journey that you're going to go through. You're going to go through your seasons like a season, like in Indiana, right? We got summer, winter, fall, spring, well, we don't have it so much because like summer and all the other but like
you have to move to Miami.
your business is going to go through seasons like that. It's the same thing in entrepreneurship. I was never ready 100% to take that leap, but the number one thing I was most confident about was my skills, my passion, my talents, my experience, and most importantly, my voice mattered, right? My voice mattered, right? I had experience. I've taken a company to exit. I've grown businesses. I've done this. I've done these things. And I think too many times, particularly like in the Latino and African American community, we limit our voice. We limit our purpose. We belittle to say, oh, well, it's not up to this level. It's not up to that level. I haven't done this yet. You'll never check all the boxes and be ready. So for me, like, it was like that opportunity to go and do that. And talking about the fear aspect, right? Like I'm all about like inspiration, right? And like fear, if you look at the word fear, right? Fear is just false evidence appearing real, right? That's just what fear is. Fear is a chemical response in your brain that is saying like, hey, like we need to preserve our status. We need to preserve, like, fear is just the response of like your body or your mind not wanting to put you in a situation that you may fail or you may look bad or you may completely fall on your face, right? And to me, like, yeah, I have those fearful moments, right? I'll be lying to you to say I don't sit sometimes and like, man, how am I gonna do this? But I also don't let that fear drown out that I am on a mission and I'm walking authentically in my truth boldly, right? I think that's so important for everybody to take, right? Like when you look at the Great Resignation and you look at this uprising of people that are no longer saying like, my voice matters, my community matters, my skills matters, my representation matters. These things matter to me now, right? These things are important. These things are what needs to be at the table for me to be at the table, right? I want to have a seat at the table. I want my voice to be heard. I want to be represented. So for me, it's like that fear is always going to be there, but you have to balance that out with, hey, I'm walking authentically in my purpose and I'm making an impact, and I'm making an impact on my community, and I'm representing my family, my community, and everything that I'm passionate about. So to me, and probably from boxing too, I've learned to like master my fight or flight response. Like I don't really get, like, I think when you're in boxing and somebody's throwing punches for you and you fought as much as I've fought, right? Like you learn to find that calmness in chaos.
We need to take boxing lessons then from you.
It's a great workout too, by the way. Like it's a great workout.
I know. And Chris, truly, I mean, you're one of those inspirational people that just by having a sweet conversation, short and sweet, you truly get motivated, and you're like, I feel like, okay, maybe I'll give it a try. Maybe it's not as bad. When I know things can be challenging, but you make it sound easier, right? Like possible. And that's what great leaders do in my mind. And from my perspective, I know that when I see somebody doing things that I thought were not possible, that's the inspiration, right? And that gives me an opportunity to think that it's possible and that's reachable and inspire in a sense. You end up inspiring others.
For sure.
So for those who may want to feel that inspiration from Chris, and what do you do? Share with us what you do as a speaker. Like,
yes.
Which conference do you attend?
Yeah, so I have the opportunity. I've been public speaking for like the last 7 or 8 years. And I have the opportunity. I got a lot of conferences coming up I got some webinars. So like I've got, I'll be at the World Finance Forum conference in LA in October. That's October 14th to 15th. I'll be at the Association of Financial Professionals conference at the end of October. That's from the 23rd to the 26th. I'll be in Mexico City for the World Finance Forum Mexico City event. That's November 16th through 17th. So like, if you're looking to connect with other Latinos, other people, I'll be at that conference. Really looking forward to that. And then in December, I'm locking down another conference. But now that things are open back up, like before the pandemic, like I was traveling like 2 or 3 times a quarter to go speak and to go present and to go talk about things. And for me, I think like, as we talked about so much in this conversation, right? Like I remember I go back into high school, right? And I remember the first CPA I've ever met. His name was William Tate, and he was an African-American male, right? I met Will when I was in high school, when I was a junior in high school, right? Because this is like career day and like I was doing accounting stuff. I didn't even know what a CPA was. And I met Will, and Will had swagger. He had Jordan sneakers on. I was like, what is a CPA? Like this dude, like this dude is like, this dude looked like a rat. Like I was a CPA. And when I seen him, I was like, I can be myself. Like I can have a mohawk. I can, wear Jordan sneakers. I can wear Yeezys. I can have these things. So to me, like, that's why I love public speaking, because I love being able to be in a community and say, like, you can be a multi, ethnic, which is what I am, right? Like my mother's Latino, my mother's African-American and Caucasian. My father is Latino and Italian. So I'm multiracial, that you can be there, right? And I get time with these people, right? Because the number one thing I've realized is like, no matter what level of success, my humility of like, hey man, we're all in this together. And like, however I can still, like, it gets back to that purpose piece, right? Like if I can help somebody else realize and achieve the greatness in their business, in their life, in their family, like that is what I'm here to do. So public speaking provides me that opportunity to connect, to meet great people, meet new people, and to show like you can be Latino and have swagger and be yourself. You can have the swagger. You can be
anything you want, right?
You can be anything you want, man, and do it at the highest level.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now I'm curious, because the company that you founded is called Fresh FP&A.
Yep.
And I love the word fresh. It truly inspires me into thinking, okay, I think of, nice smells and spring and there's many things that come to mind, and new, exciting. So what's the story behind Fresh FP&A?
So this is great. I remember I was coming through and I was like thinking about my company, right? And I was just thinking about the name, and I'm like going through stuff, and I'm like, I had a Jay-Z song in the background, because Jay-Z gets you. Jay-Z is one of the artists. He gets me in the mood. Like That dude's a hustler. Like he gets me in my mode. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm just like, man, you know what? Like, I think I'm bringing a new, fresh perspective on financial partnership and advising, right? I was like, that's what I'm here to do. And I was like, fresh FP&A, like a fresh view on finance, right? Like that's what I'm doing. That's what I bring. I bring a fresh perspective on financial planning analysis. I bring a fresh perspective on financial partnership and advising. I bring a fresh perspective on fractional CFO and what that means, right? I bring all this fresh perspective of what it means. And I was like, that's it. Fresh FP&A.
I love that.
That's literally how I came up with the name of my company.
And now talk to me about that financial partnership. What do you mean by that? What does that entail?
Yeah, so like traditional FP&A, for traditional FP&A has been the financial planning and analysis, right? It's very quantitative. It's very data analysis, data mining, variance. It's very quantitative in nature, right? But the thing I'm seeing where the modern CFO and the value proposition of finance organization in the future is like tools and technology can do all the financial planning analysis. Like they could go do that, right? Like you don't want your high talented, high performing resources doing the planning and analysis. Go get a technology to do that. The major value add that you have in finance, FP&A, is the financial partnership and advising. That is the next step, right? That is what the business has set the bar for finance organizations of the future. You need to be that partner. You need to be that advisor. You need to bring that financial clarity. You need to be able to take, complexity and confusion and turn that into clear, concise conclusions that the business can understand. And you need to do that through partnership and advising. So to me, like even the name, even FP&A in my company name is not fresh financial planning and analysis. It's not that. It's fresh partnership, fresh financial partnership and advising, because to me, that is really the value add that finance organizations, CFOs, are bringing to businesses in the future.
That's beautiful, because I do see the financial function morphing and evolving into exactly what you said, becoming that partner, not only inside of the organization, but even outside of the organization. Because now you're sharing your vision and with those vendors, suppliers, customers, clients, with everyone, right? And it's about what's coming, and exactly what you said, making the information edible, right? Understand, easy to understand. So, and that's the beauty of it. And kudos to you for your foresight and for your vision in that aspect. And for those who don't know, what's a fractional CFO?
Yeah, so a fractional CFO, right? We're in the element right now where you see a lot of organizations that are looking for that finance leader, right? Primarily, I work with a lot of different organizations, clients, all in different industries, right? And maybe they're a Series A. Series A is like an entry-level company. They're still trying to find market fit. They're still trying to build momentum, but they don't have the opportunity to bring in that finance person that's done it, right? That's seen it from the mountaintop, right? And to me, that fractional experience, to be able to take someone that has, myself, I have 18 years experience in accounting, finance, FP&A, and financial leadership, right? Take that experience from day one. Think of it. It's like building a house, right? Like when you're building a house, you want to make sure that foundation is the best. It doesn't matter what big screen TVs you want, how many windows. If you don't have a solid foundation in your finance organization to build on,
absolutely,
when you get to that organization 5, 6, 7 years from now, it's going to start having leaks in it. It's going to start having cracks. So the fractional CFO and the service that I provide is like, I give you all of that expertise around your people, your process, partnership, performance, platform, and profit optimization strategies and tactics, so you can build a best-in-class finance organization, so you can transform and scale that finance organization. To me, like, that is the value proposition. And when you look at the overall market right now, right, like, people still need those valuable resources. And to me, I think that is like a fundamental opportunity for me to write into that purpose, right? Like, I'm helping organizations build best-in-class finance organizations by using my skills, passions, and talents and experiences to help them realize greatness inside their organization. So to me, if you haven't thought about it already, definitely connect on fractional CFOs, financial leadership, fractional CMOs, fractional CROs, all those other O's that are in the C-suite now. Right? It's really a great opportunity to get a lot of expertise and get a lot of vision, and make sure you're building the right foundations in your organization.
And I know that you can provide that guidance too, to not only startups, but any type of organizations out there looking for that type of support. So
For sure.
Before I ask you, a couple last questions, because I know it's running out of time, but I know that you mentioned where you see the financial function going, and the CFOs and just finance as a whole going 3-5 years from going into the future. But is there something that you're thinking other than what you mentioned that we need to know as far as your vision for the finance function in the future?
Yeah, to me, I think the pandemic has really set the bar and set the new milestone of what it means to be a CFO for the next 15 years, easily, right? Those top 3 things and in-demand skill sets that every modern CFO needs to have. The first one is you need to be empathetic, data-driven decision-making leaders, right? Now, what that means, right, is saying like, yes, you can do your financial modeling, your scenario planning, but you have to understand as a CFO, at the end of every model, at the end of every scenario that you do, there's a human element to that, right? There's a human element. So we need to incorporate that same rigor, that same process of being data driven, but we need to put the human element inside of that. So we need to be those empathetic, data driven decision making leaders. The second one is we need to be technology adopters, right? We can no longer be the technology adopters and wait till like 15 years before, wait till it's audit ready, wait till it's compliance ready and all this stuff, right? We need to be as stewards in the business, loving technology, right? Technology to me, to the modern CFO, is when you think of Batman and Batman has his like bat ring and all his boomerangs and all his like weaponry that he has, that is what technology is to the modern CFO. You're able to use artificial intelligence, machine learning, robust process automation, RPA, prescriptive and predictive analytics. You're able to use these tools to continue to drive the modern value proposition. And the third piece of it that I think CFOs are going to win big and where we need to be positioning in the business, we need to be great business partners, right? We need to be in the business, making sure we're serving the business, right? We need to serve the business. We need to speak their language. We need to be those advocates with the chief information officer, with the chief technology officer. The office of the CFO is no longer just in the closet, in the corner, calculating with their green hats on anymore. The business has set the bar high. The business has partnered with the CFO to manage through uncertainty and complexity. And we need to be those great connective tissues. We need to build a finance community inside of our organizations. We need to do that. So to me, I think those are the 3 crystal ball things that modern CFOs and organizations that start thinking about their finance organization in that lens, not thinking about the finance organizations as just the scorekeepers. Hey, the finance gets us the numbers, right? We're more than that. We have a tremendous opportunity to rewrite the legacy and the history of what it means to be a modern CFO. So to me, like, those are the 3 biggest places to place your bets to win for the CFO.
Wow, that's a huge rewriting the way that we see finance. That's huge, and
Definitely.
But it is so encouraging to see. I mean, and to hear. I've heard that from you. I mean, there's a few conferences also that I've heard this movement, and it's not. I don't even know if it's a movement, but it's reality, right? It's the now. How the finance professional become those partners and those advisors, as you mentioned.
Definitely, 100%. And I think everybody listening, right, you have a huge opportunity to be able to do that. Whether go partner with finance, right? Go connect with finance. Or
and it's true. It's no longer about counting cents and making sure that everything fits. It's more than that, right? Like you said, there's software that will do that job in an instant, but the relationship building, the really understanding, like you said, there's a human element on the other side, and that's who we serve. That's who's buying from us. That's who our teams are made of. and that's I will believe that's why you mentioned empathy as one of those drivers, right?
100%, 100%, man. Like I think the office of the CFO, we need to be comfortable with the warm and fuzzies, right? We need to be connecting to people. We need
And
to
not
be,
everybody is.
and not everybody is, right? Like we got to be comfortable. We got to be great collaborators. We got to be great communicators, right? I call it the 5 C's that we have to do. And the thing about it is like, this is what the business expects now out of finance. Like, this isn't like, I was on a CFO panel and there were some CFOs, older CFOs, older CFOs, not throwing shade at them, but I call them dinosaurs, right? Those old,
no shade, but oh my goodness.
but
Okay.
I was thinking, and it was like, yeah, well, like when things get back to where it was, I was like, do you not understand? Like, it's not it. Like we passed that point. Like,
right.
We're past that point of getting things back to where it was before, and like it surprised me that they're having this conversation about when things go back to what they were, and it's just like a fundamental gap between that, and we have a huge opportunity to rewrite that narrative, and I'm happy to be on the forefront of doing that.
No, and I love it, and we're following your lead, but this is the now, this is the reality, this is our new way of doing things, and I would hope that more and more finance professionals will embrace that, but not only finance professionals, leaders in general, right? Mm-hmm. If you're a CEO, if you're a CFO, if you're a CMO, whatever role you are, or maybe it's not even that, maybe you are a manager, maybe you're a supervisor, it's the same thing. It's the same story for everyone. It's about leading with empathy. And thank you for bringing that up, Chris.
Sure.
Chris, we're about to sadly say bye to this conversation, because I've truly enjoyed it, and hopefully you accept my invite to come again at some point and keep shining through, because you do shine quite a bit, my dear.
Thank you.
How do people reach out to you?
Yeah, so I'm all over LinkedIn. You can follow me on all of my socials on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at Fresh FRESH FPA. And then also check out my website, www.freshfpa.com. I'm happy to connect, happy to help organizations. To me, like we talked about it before, right? Like walking boldly in my purpose and passion is what wakes me up every day, along with failure as well. So that's how you can reach me. I'm looking forward to connecting with everybody. And of course, like whenever you need me, however I can help, man, this has been tremendous. And I appreciate everybody taking the time out to look at this. Thank you so much. Stay motivated, stay inspired, and just know right now you have the opportunity to write a tremendous legacy in your life. It just starts with that first step.
I love it, Chris. And like you said, discover your why and walk on your authenticity boldly. I love that. I'm going to keep that as one of my phrases for forever, for my whole life. Thank you so much for everything that you do. Thank you so much for inspiring. Thank you so much for leading the way. And let's continue to honor the legacy of others, of those who came before us, and also our own legacy and building together. Thank you so much for your time, Chris.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Lovely. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next time on another session of Hablemos. Bye.